You are about to become the creators of a company, and for this we're going to take you through the marketing analysis process and start first of all by understanding the environment so that you can make the best possible decisions. First of all, why should we study the business environment? Today, the pace of change is so fast that companies have to keep evolving to be able to survive. So the key to surviving and thriving, there are three different points. The first is to be able to evolve and adapt, to make sure that you are keeping pace with change. The second is to innovate, to bring new ideas into the market. And the third point is to dare to be different from what is already in the marketplace. Darwin was the first to say that it is not the strongest species that survive, nor the most intelligent, but the ones that are the most responsive to change. And that is true also of companies. The company has to have a capacity to observe and analyze its environment. That gives it the capacity to anticipate changes before they happen. And that enables it then to make decisions which are going to reinforce the strengths of the company whilst minimizing the weaknesses that could threaten it. Innovation is the next key. Steve Jobs said that innovation is the ability to see change as an opportunity, not a threat. Innovation is the process of translating an invention into a good or a service that creates value for a customer. An innovating idea must be duplicable at an economic cost, and it must satisfy a specific need that the customer has. So those are the types of ideas that you should be looking for. Finally, you need to differentiate. That means not doing things like everybody else. Plastic packaging is out. Why not have healthy and eco-friendly packaging such as banana leaves? The process of distinguishing a company's product or service from those of the competitors to make it more attractive to a particular target audience is differentiating. The idea is to demonstrate unique aspects of your company's product and create a sense of extra value for the company in a way that the customer wants. We're obviously trying to do things that pleases the consumer and gives them extra value. So let's take a step back. What is marketing then? Marketing has been defined by Dr. Philip Kotler, who is the father of modern marketing. His definition says that it is the science and art of exploring, creating, and delivering value to satisfy the needs of a target market at a profit. Let's look at each of these words that are underlined. First of all, a science. Science is based on objectivity, on methodology, data, observation, research, and statistics. And marketing has a strong element of objectivity, methodology, which we're going to be particularly looking at in this marketing analysis phase. He also describes it as an art. Art is subjective. We're talking about aesthetics, creativity, perceptions. So in the second semester, when we talk about the marketing mix, we're going to also be introducing the art side of marketing. Value is about usefulness or worth in the minds of the consumer. The more the value, the more the product fulfills the needs and preferences of the customer, the more the value increases. What about the idea of needs? Well, from a consumer perspective, a need is a motivating force that compels action for its satisfaction. If I am thirsty, then I need a drink, and I'm going to feel that thirst because I feel a lack of something. From the company perspective, a need is the identification of an opportunity to deliver a benefit in the form of a product or service to a customer. And finally, the target market, that means that we are measuring and quantifying the size of a market and the potential profit that we're going to be able to establish within that market. So the role of marketing is threefold. Firstly, we need to understand and identify the customers and what their needs are. So we're in our analysis phase. Secondly, we need to satisfy those customers by making the right products and services available to them so that they get something out of the exchange. And finally, we are there to retain the customers that we have gained and ensure that they're going to keep coming back and using our product rather than a competitor product. Let's look at the marketing process. Again, Philip Kotler said that the most important thing is to forecast where customers are moving and to be in front of them. We're coming back to this idea of innovating and keeping ahead, anticipating the changes. You should be asking yourself loads of questions as you're starting off in your journey to create a company. So first of all, who are the customers? What do they need? What product would solve that need? What motivates the customer to buy that product? How much would they spend? Where would they buy the product? What products already exist and which would compete with me? Is our idea supported by current trends? Is it going to have a long-term future? How could we distribute our product? What makes us better than the competitors? Do we have the right skills to produce our product? Do we have enough money to produce our product? And so the questions go on. And our objective with market analysis is to answer all of these questions. This is a diagram which shows the process of marketing analysis and marketing process. We start with the mission of the company, and then in blue we do what we call the situation analysis, which looks at internal and external factors which enable us to understand the dynamics of our market. From that, we're going to devise our marketing strategy, and then we're going to develop what we call the marketing mix, which is going to create the product or service and how it's presented to the consumer and implement that in the market. Each time we need to renew that process and come back up to the top and restart the situation analysis, because as we've seen, the environment is changing. In other words, if I start off with a signpost, we have 4 main questions to ask ourselves. First of all, where are we now? That is establishing what's going on in our market and who we are with in terms of competitors. Secondly, our strategy. Where do we want to go? What is our objective? And what do we want our company to become? How are we going to get there? That is when we start determining how we're going to implement our marketing strategy and the decisions that we're going to take to achieve our objectives. And finally, we have to go back and measure, are we getting there? Is our strategy working? And from that, as I said, we go back to the loop and we start again. Where are we now? Things have changed. We've moved on a year later. Now where do we go? How are we going to get there? Etc., etc. The marketing analysis starts with what we call the situation analysis, which looks at internal and external factors that we're going to look at. The situation analysis is a thorough examination of internal and external factors affecting a business. The idea is that you will have then a better understanding of the factors that will influence the future and can anticipate and take better decisions. Graphically, we can present it like this, with the 2 parts: internal analysis, which gives rise to strengths and weaknesses, and external analysis, which is going to allow us to identify opportunities and threats. Who does the internal analysis? Well, it's done by the internal managers of a company, the supervisors, the customers. You're going to use all of this data to get a feel for what are the different strengths and weaknesses of your company. They're going to review the culture, the company expertise, its unique qualities, its resources, whether it be human resources, financial resources. And they identify potential strengths and weaknesses, which are going to be pushing the company forward in its market. The strengths are things which add value or offer your organization a competitive advantage, make it stronger than the competitors. Weaknesses are things that detract from the value of your offering or place you at a disadvantage when compared with your competitors. So what questions can we ask to determine our strengths? What qualities or aspects persuaded our customers to choose our product or our service? What resources do we have at our disposal? What areas are we seen as being expert in? What advantages do we have over our competitors? It may be our employees, our technology, our modern machinery, our know-how, our patents, our innovation, our agility, our ability to get into the market very fast, our better knowledge of the market itself. As you're a startup, obviously we don't have many strengths to start with, so we need to make sure we compensate as much as possible for the weaknesses that are linked to our lack of experience and our lack of resources. We're also going to have weaknesses. What can be improved or altered? What do we do badly? How does our performance compare with that of our competitors? How do potential customers judge our performance or our service? And what do we lack? Money, employees, visibility, access to the market? We can find answers to all of these questions by surveying data on our different resources, on the internet, etc. So if our weaknesses are clearly identified, then we can start working on improving them and making them less problematic. The external analysis is outside the company, and that gives us ideas for opportunities and threats that the company is going to face. What we call the macro environment looks at uncontrollable external trends which directly or indirectly affect the entire business environment for not just ourselves but every other company in the competing market. And we use what we call a PESTEL analysis to have an analysis of that macro environment. The micro environment takes us down to a lower level into the specific market and looks at statistics, volumes, value, trends, geographic locations, competitors, distribution and customers. So a much more close to the ground approach. Finally, we're going to summarize all of these findings in what we call a SWOT analysis. And SWOT takes its origin from the strengths and the weaknesses of the internal analysis and the opportunities and the threats from the external analysis. It's like taking a photograph, like a Polaroid photograph, at a specific moment in time to just act on what is happening internally and externally and creating a diagnosis. So it's a summary of the strengths and weaknesses from an internal controllable environment, and it puts them into perspective by integrating opportunities and threats from the external uncontrollable environment using the PESTEL analysis that we will see in the next edition. So now we hope you have an understanding of marketing analysis, understanding your environment, and informing your decisions. Watch this video again to consolidate your understanding and then complete the exercises.